Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name's Lefebvre, and today I'm going to teach you how to create a fall color palette. Working with gorgeous fall colors using deep reds and muted purples, smoky blues, and forest greens can really set the mood for an autumn painting. But what if you're a beginner and you don't have all of those fancy colors in your stash and you're trying to stick within your art supply budget? Well, today I'm going to show you how to take 6 basic colors and turn them into the perfect autumn color palette. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, so today I am going to show you how to take this basic palette of 6 colors and turn it into the perfect autumn color palette. So today I'm just going to be demonstrating this in a basic sketchbook. You don't need any fancy paper for this. The watercolors I'm using today are Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors. These are actually the watercolors that I started off with. These tubes are very, very old, probably about 5 years old. They are student grade watercolor tubes. And the reason why I started off with tubes before I ever got to a pan palette was because I attended a workshop where this is how I learned how to paint with watercolor. So I started growing my collection based off of these watercolors. Now, these are some of the basic colors that I started out with. So the colors that I'm using today, and you don't need the exact colors, just something similar, are cadmium yellow hue, cadmium orange hue. Sometimes a cadmium red is a bit more on the orangier side, which is a bit more common. So that would work perfect for kind of like an orange. Cadmium red deep hue, which is a nice kind of more cherry red. Dioxazine purple, intense blue or phthalo blue, and sap green. So these 6 colors, I'm going to show you how to mix them in different combinations to create the perfect autumn palette. And a lot of the ways that I like to do this is referring to our color wheel. So the first basic way I'm going to show you is very, very simple. We are going to mute our bright color palette by adding its complementary or contrasting colors. So each of these colors on the color wheel has an opposite to it, that if you mix 2 of the colors together, you get some sort of shade of brown, which really is an autumn color. But if you mix just a small amount of one of the colors to the other, you can mute or tone down that color. So the colors that are sitting across from each other on the color wheel, so red and green, yellow and purple, and blue and orange, are complementary or contrasting colors. Mixing 2 of those colors together is going to give you a muted tone. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But then I'm also going to show you how to mix in other colors from this basic color palette just to elevate some of those colors a bit more. Now, the one thing I will say about this demonstration, I have just poured these wet tube paints into the palette. I don't suggest doing that with beginners. What I like to do with tube watercolors is I'll squeeze them into a palette and I'll let it dry overnight. And the reason why I do that is because when you squeeze fresh wet paint into your palette, you tend to use more paint than you need, which you actually might see me do here. It's a little bit more tricky to work with fresh wet paint. Once it's dried, you can just swish around your wet brush in it and then it will activate the paint and you use a lot less. So it just kind of helps stretch out the longevity of your paints if you use them dry. So today I'm using them wet. It's going to be a little bit trickier, so just keep that in mind. I don't recommend doing that. Okay, but let's just jump into it. Enough chatting. So like I was saying with our complementary or contrasting colors, all you have to do is add a little bit of the contrasting color to the main color you're trying to mix to get a muted tone. So let's start with our yellow here. I'm going to bring my yellow. See how it's wet? Don't recommend doing this. I'm going to bring my yellow over here just a little bit. So I want to have about 80 to 90% yellow and about 20 to 10% of its complementary or contrasting color, which is purple. So I'm going to take just a little bit. Always start with less than you think you might need. And some colors are a bit more pigmented than the others, so you might just want to be aware of that. Take only a small amount and you're just going to mix it in. And see how it's starting to turn a little bit brown? You can get a nice brown kind of color from that. But also, if you have more yellow, I'm going to add more yellow to that mixture. You get more of like a yellow ochre color. That's basically yellow ochre right there. And based off the amounts of purple you put in, you can make it darker, lighter, whatever you want. But we just toned down that yellow color by adding its complementary or contrasting color to it. Okay, so that's our first color. Let's try our next color. Now this is cadmium orange hue. This is a bit more on the yellowy side. So this we have to be a little bit more mindful of. If this was a darker orange, this would work better with the blue. But let's just test it out and see what we can do here. Okay, so like I said, we're going to add its contrasting color, which orange is blue. So you want about 80% to 90% orange and then just like about 10% blue. I literally took the tiniest amount. That might even be too much, honestly, just because you want just a tiny little amount. And see how it instantly kind of tones it down and turns it a bit more rusty. Now this is, like I said, a more yellowy kind of orange. A more ideal orange would be a bit more of a reddy kind of orange. So I'm going to show you how to mix that in just a second. But let's get a bit more orange in here. Add a bit more blue. And a part about this mixture is that the blue I also have is a bit more leaning to the green side. So we tend to get a bit more of a green undertone to this mixture, so you have to be a bit careful. But let's try, actually we'll come back to that and we'll add some red. Okay, but see how you can tone that orange down just a bit? You can add a bit more. There we go, there's kind of that rusty orange I was looking for. Just like that. And there you go. All right, let's try our next one, which is red. So I'm gonna take some of this cadmium red deep. Okay, and its contrasting color that sits directly across from it on the color wheel is green. So we're going to take about 90% red, a little bit of green, we're going to mix it in there, and it immediately tones it down and creates this darker red. Now, I don't have too much paint on here, so it's not as vibrant. Also, like I said, these are student grade paints. They're good quality, but they're not the best quality. You might get better mixtures and better vibrancy with your colors if you have artist grade paints. You don't need it. It is possible to get beautiful mixtures. But if you find it's lacking a little bit, that might be why. You just have to keep adjusting the tones. So there's that deeper red. See that? Let's add a bit more green to it so we can get a little bit more of a brown to it. Red and green is one of my favorite mixtures to make a good brown. There we go. Okay, so there we have our toned down kind of red. All right, purple. So here we have our dioxazine purple, which is actually one of my favorite colors for mixing. Grab our purple, and we're going to add a tiny bit of our yellow. And this kind of creates a bit more of like a smoky purple, like a, what would I call this? Like a plum. Like look how beautiful and fall like that plum is. I love that. That's one of my favorite mixtures. And you can add a little bit more yellow to it and get a brown. That's a really nice brown as well. Okay, so you can adjust the amounts. But there is your muted purple. All right, blue. So this is phthalo blue. Like I said, it's a little bit more on the green side. So the only thing with this, like I was saying before, if we add a lot of this orange, it has a little bit more, it's leaning a little bit more towards yellow. So this orange here, it leans a little bit more towards yellow. And if our blue leans a little bit more towards green, we're going to get more of a green mixture if we mix too much orange. So I'm going to show you quickly what that would look like if we took a little bit of our orange here. It mixes more of a green. And really, it's supposed to kind of just tone down the blue and make more of a smoky blue. Now, just because of the tones of these paints, it's not really doing that. If we did want to get more of a smoky blue, what I would do is add a little bit of red to it to make that orange a bit more red. So let's grab more blue, just because I want to show you kind of that smoky mixture I'm talking about. We're going to grab orange and then a little bit of red. And you should get a bit more of a toned down blue. See that? It's a little bit deeper, but it's a beautiful fall kind of blue. You can even add a little bit more red to it. And that brings out the smokiness of it. But because these two colors also lean a little bit more to the greenish side, you can mix a beautiful fall green with these two colors as well. So let's do that. Let's grab our blue, grab our orange, and look at this like almost perfect deep green. And if you wanted to make it a little bit more fall-like, a little bit more olivey, add a bit more of the orange to it. Like so. All right, so that's that mixture. And then lastly is our sap green. So here we have our sap green. I'm gonna try and take a lot of it. And its contrasting or complementary color is red. So let's try and add a little bit of red to this to get a bit of a deeper green. So that's too much. That's creating a bit of a brown. We need more green. So there's a bit more of an olivey kind of green. Grab a bit more red. It's all about just kind of trial and error, mixing different amounts to try and get this color that you want. Now this is more of an olivey green. It's not really making it too much darker. If you did want to make it a darker green, what you could do is add a little bit of blue to it, which would make it a darker green, like that. Add a little bit more of its contrasting color and you can get a beautiful forest green. See that? So many gorgeous colors you can get. And if you wanted to deepen that even a little bit more, you could add a bit of purple and you get this really deep, beautiful green. So here I went a little bit more with the mixtures, but look at these fall colors compared to our bright palette. Let's head back up here just for a minute because there are some really beautiful mixtures you can make. So one of my other favorite kind of fall mixture is our red. And I'm just mixing it in the well that already has a little bit of brown in it because why not? It's fine. It mutes it a little bit anyway. And then purple. These two colors together create like this beautiful kind of burgundy or plum. Like look at that. Now if you wanted it more on the purple side, leaning a bit more purpley, add just a bit more purple. Or if you wanted it a bit more on the red side, you add a bit more red. And it's just by trying other things, trying different mixtures. Like look how beautiful those colors are. I'm obsessed. And then let's just go back to our orange for a second. There's a little bit of green in there. That's okay. Okay, we got our orange. I can add a little bit of our blue again. Look at that deep green. Look at this. Look at that beautiful green you get. I'm kind of going all over the place, aren't I? Okay. Let's grab our orange. A bit more on the orange side. I'm just going to use all this orange. Add a little bit of red into it. You can make kind of like this burnt sienna kind of brown. Look at that. Look at that. That's like a pure autumn color. So a little bit of orange with its contrasting color, which is blue, and then add some red to it. It really warms it up and just creates this beautiful rusty brown, kind of like a burnt sienna. But just looking at this, if you cover all of these bright colors, look at that beautiful autumn color palette range. I love it. The only other one I want to kind of get master is the blue. I want to get that smokier blue. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue, a little bit of purple, and then a little bit of red. There we go. That's kind of, look at that. Look at that deep blue. And if we want to make it a little bit smokier, I get a bit more red. Just kind of tones it down a little bit. Now, if you're wondering why mixing the red and the blue is giving us kind of the smoky blue instead of purple, which you would think red and blue together make purple, it's because of the hues of the paints that we're mixing. Like I said, this blue is a bit more on the green side, which is not ideal for mixing a purple with a red. And this red is, while it's nice and deep, it has a little bit of yellow to it. So what that actually does is it mutes our colors. But in this case, it's perfect. Like, look at this. It's like a midnight kind of like indigo. And there you go. So just with these 6 colors, I made this gorgeous color palette. I know it was a little all over the place, but I really hope you guys learned something and enjoyed it. If you want more color mixing videos, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.